Hey, Connect leaders and life group leaders. You guys are getting to help us do our baptism class for kids. And so we are actually going to shoot a video demonstrating what the new format of a small group is going to look like. So some of this is your first time to lead a small group for the baptism class for kids, and others it may be your second or third time. But this time it's a brand new format. It's a brand new type of It's still the same concept, but it's a brand new format for the class. And so Chris and I are going to walk you through what that looks like. So in your email, you will have this attachment. So this is going to be the small group guide. You guys will be in a small group setting of 2 to 3 families, and so that's parents and kids, and you will be talking to both the parents and the kids in this format. And so we will include everything that you need in the email, and we will also try to connect with you this weekend to talk with you more about what that's going to look like. But right now we're going to go ahead and get started going through the small group. So I'm actually going to be the parent or the student. I know they're backwards. Sorry, I should have thought that through. And Chris is going to be the small group leader. And so we're going to just act this out so that you guys get a general idea of what this looks like on your end. And then if you have any questions, you can reach out to either one of us, and we will gladly answer them for you. So.
Perfect. So the first part is going to be an MC who's going to be up front who welcomes everyone to the class. And then they're going to kick it to small group leaders. And the top part says small group welcome. And that's a time where you can share about yourself. So we will just run through that like you would on a baptism class for kids. So the first part says introduce yourself. So hello, my name is Chris Tyberg. It's great to meet you. What's your name?
My name is Cecile.
Cecile, great to meet you. So today we're going to be chatting for a little bit about baptism, so really glad that you're here. So just a little bit about myself. I've been serving here for about 5 years now. Absolutely love serving in Life Kids. Came to Life Church for the very first time because a friend invited me and said that this would be something that I'd enjoy, and fell in love with the sermons of Craig. Got plugged into serving in Life Kids, and the rest is history. That's why I come each and every week, is because I love serving and love being poured into by our senior pastor, Craig Rochelle. Also, just a little fun fact about me, my favorite TV show. Ooh, it's a tough one. I really enjoy, right now it's Daniel Tiger. I have a little 8-month-old. So I absolutely love Daniel Tiger and love Mr. Rogers. So they fit hand in hand. So Cecile, could you tell me just a little bit about how you came to join Life Church?
Absolutely. So you can pick parent or student.
Parent.
All right. So I actually started attending Life Church about 8 years ago at the Midtown campus. I met my husband serving in Life Kids, so I'm actually plugged into the ministry. So I know a little bit about Connect, but really I've only done babies and smaller kids. But I'm excited that my kid is taking this step of baptism, and I'm excited to see what this class holds. So
perfect. Sounds good. Well, I'll be here. We'll be chatting throughout the time, so feel free to ask any questions, and we'll go through just a few things. How about you, Adina? What do you think? How did you first start attending Connect?
So now I'm a student. So I grew up in Life Kids, and I've been coming for a really, really long time, and I've just been so excited about coming to Connect. I've been waiting for forever. Like, it seems like forever. And I'm so glad I'm here now. And I just can't wait to see the next movie.
Very cool. We'll have to see what it is. Well, perfect. Glad that you're both here. So with that, that's kind of the intro. We may get through questions a lot faster. And if they don't have much of a story to chat with you about, feel free to ask about anything. Just get to know them a little bit. It's just a time to be able to break down some barriers. Kids may be nervous answering these questions. So feel free to chat with the parents about their time at Life Church, and then also chat with the kids about what they like about Connect, what they like about the summer. Anything is fair game there. Just feel free to get to know them. And then our MC will come back up and chat through the next part.
So the next part is what we're going to call the airplane mask analogy. And so our MC is going to lead through that whole entire piece. And I'm just going to give you a little outline of what that looks like so you can be prepared just to know what that looks like. So the first thing the MC is going to ask is what happens when an airplane cabin loses pressure and the oxygen mask drops. And so we're actually going to have an actual oxygen mask. She's going to get to demonstrate it coming down. And it basically means that we care for ourselves and then help our kid next to us. So as a parent, so this is the MC is going to be talking directly to the parents at this piece. And so it's essentially showing that as a parent, we're going to help our kid first, and then we're going to worry about ourselves next, even though in the airline they don't recommend that. Why? As parents, we must make sure we are in a position to help those around us by caring for ourselves first. And then I totally messed that up, didn't I?
Yep.
So actually this is correct, and it is in line with what the airline says. So we are honoring God with excellence. Yay, Life Church.
Yeah.
So the first part is actually that we are going to take care of ourselves. So the MC will drop it down, demonstrate putting it on. Then we take care of the kids because we know that we have to be taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of those around us. Sorry about that. Then, when it comes to the spiritual development of our kids, we need to make sure we have a healthy relationship with Christ ourselves. So again, talking to the parents, making sure that they understand that you guys, a lot of you are Life Kids leaders, so make it personal, making it personal to the parent that they are growing in their relationship with Christ as well. And a solid relationship starts with community and connection. So those relationships that we're always talking about, so life groups, serving, those kind of things. So our MC is going to lead through all that a lot better than I did. And then you guys are going to get to lead through some questions, which again, Chris is going to demonstrate. And throughout this part, parents backwards, but I will be the parent again.
Perfect. All right. So, Cecile, have you ever, I heard that you were serving Life Kids. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. Have you ever tried a life group in your past 7 years?
You know, I just don't have time for a life group, if I'm completely honest. So, no.
Cool. That's something that, life groups can be challenging to meet every week for an hour or two, or some even longer than that. But there are some that meet once a month or every other week as well. So there is some flexibility there. Are there groups of people that you meet with consistently and just talk through your kid's spiritual life or your spiritual life?
I have friends, that they come to Life Church and we get together, but we don't call ourselves a life group. And so I don't have time for life groups.
Perfect. Well, the crazy thing is actually you just kind of described a life group of being a part of a group of friends that get together, that talk about your spiritual life. That essentially is a life group that you're already a part of, which is encouraging and exciting because we all need, and for myself included, we need other adults and other people to connect with so that we can be encouraged, pray for one another, and then help spiritually mentor our kids all together as well. So it sounds like that's something that you're already doing. And if you want to, feel free to sign up in order to get additional folks plugged into your friendship group. I'd love to help you out with that. Otherwise, be encouraged that you're already plugged into a life group.
All right. Well, thanks.
So with that, is there anything else that the church can do to help out with that partnership, knowing that we want to help Adina out so much and we love spending time with her on the weekends and teaching her? Is there other ways that we can continue to partner with you guys as parents?
Yeah, like I said, I've been serving in Life Kids, but I don't really know what happens in Connect. So what does that look like?
Perfect. So Connect, it looks a lot like an adult type service where we have a video message, much like Craig has one on the screen, and then kids have one as well. They'll have worship as well, which is song and dance. So the Connect leaders, which is you guys, bust a move and have so much fun being able to do that with the kids, and the kids follow along and just have a blast and worship in their own way. And then they break up into small groups, much like I talked about with life groups. Okay. They spend time with a consistent leader. They ask questions about the message. They're able to pray together. So that's basically the rundown of Connect. And all of that's located on lifekids.tv. So if you want to check it out, that's the place to go.
Great. Well, thank you.
Perfect. So with that too, Cecile gave the fun, more difficult, challenging way of talking about life group. And that's something that a lot of parents do say of, man, I don't have time. So feel free to focus on people on forming community with other believers as well. But if there are folks that are saying, yep, I've never heard about that, talk about what a life group is, of meeting weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and just encourage folks to get into a community. And we'll have cards there for you, so if they want to sign up in that moment, feel free to give them that card. They'll sign up, and then our life groups team will follow up with them to make sure that they're plugged into a biblical community. But that whole part is talking about life groups. spiritual community, and then also the partnership with kids, with parents, and the church as well. So feel free to ask questions as time allows. We'll have a guide for you, but from there, just be able to talk with them anywhere in that category from there.
Yes, and so now it kicks back to the MC again, and I'm going to read through the list of questions that she will be going through. But this is going to be where the MC is actually going to be talking about sin, what is baptism, those kind of things. So I'm going to read through the question. And so the first one is, what is sin? And it goes through, we have all sinned. Sin separates us from God. Christ died for our sins. We must accept Christ as our Lord in our heart and live for him daily. And then the MC is going to go through the A, B, C's, which admit, believe, and choose. And then there's an actual illustration that she's going to get to do in front of the class, and it uses iodine, water, and bleach. I'm actually going to send that clip to you in this email, so you can just take a look at it if you want to see what it's going to look like before the actual class. And then after that, she's going to kick it back to you, the small group leaders. And so again, Chris and I are going to walk through that, and this time I will be the student.
Mm-hmm. So this part, we are sharing our personal story. So we're talking about sin and our separation, but then God redeems us, and God gives us a path through Jesus Christ to be in relationship with him. And we all have a unique story, and that influence others, and that it's just such a powerful testimony that people can hear, and people can connect to Jesus through that. So this time gives you about 3 to 4 minutes of being able to share your story. And for me, I had some times in college with just some things that may not be appropriate for kids to hear, and that's completely okay. So know that this is a moment where I'm speaking with kids, and if you have a story or a testimony that may be best for adults, feel free to edit that to have kids understand still that you are separated from God and made bad choices, which are sins, but then came back in relationship with him. So feel free to edit that a little bit based on the group. And if you need help with that, feel free to ask one of us. We'd be happy to talk you through what that looks like and how to best just handle and be able to articulate what your story is and how God has used that to bring you in a relationship with him. So with that, so perfect. So, Adina, I want to be able to share with you just a little bit about what God's done in my life. So, for me, I've heard that you grew up in the church, that you started at an early age continuing to attend, and that is so amazing to hear that your parents brought you to church each and every week. And for my life, it wasn't like that. My parents didn't bring me to church every single week, so I wasn't really sure who God was and the love that he had for me. So going through life, I did things that I thought were best or that I heard from other people were the best. So I don't know if you've heard from other kids in class of you should do this or this is the best thing, and sometimes that's not the best, right?
Right.
Perfect. Yeah, so some things kids or other people tell us to do aren't always the best. And those were the things that I tried to do. I tried to be the most popular, the most successful, the one that everyone liked, and did some bad decisions because of that, and sinned and was separated from God because of the decisions that I made. But then God came into my life in big ways. So what that was for me is that I had friends and other people that were praying for me and that talked with me of, man, what is the difference? Why don't you believe in God? Could you go to church with me? And I started to open up with them because I knew that they loved me and cared for me and talked through all the struggles that I had in my life. And they talked to me about Jesus and that he wanted a relationship, not religion, not certain things that I had to do, but that he loved me and wanted to start a relationship with me. And that was new and different to me, and I absolutely loved to hear that. So I started to attend church, and I started to pray to God. And then one moment, I will never forget it. I was in my bed as a 20-year-old in college, and I prayed that God would come into my life, that I can't do this on my own. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy with all the things that are people telling me to do, but that I'm going to live for God now, and that I accept his sacrifice on the cross for me. And from there, my life is completely changed. I was made new. I started a relationship with Jesus. And of course, there's still things that I struggle with. There's still things that I sin. But I know that I'm forgiven by God and continue to pray to him to build that relationship. And that's been, about 10 years now that I've been able to do that. No, a little less than that. 10 years. 10 years with Jesus so far. So it's amazing. I absolutely love that story. And it's something personal to me. But I know that we all have a story, and even you, Adina, have that story. So what is your story with Jesus?
So I was watching Connect, and we always go over ABCs, like that lady was talking about up there. And so one night I went and talked to my mommy and my daddy, and I told them about what I'd been learning in Connect, because they asked me all the time, and I talked about what I was learning, and I told them about the ABCs, and I told them that I just really wanted to have Jesus with me all the time, and they talked to me about what that looked like, and then I said a prayer, and I just feel different.
Very cool. That's absolutely amazing to know that you feel different. That's the Holy Spirit living inside of you. When we give our life to Christ, the Holy Spirit comes inside of us, and God starts that relationship. So we do feel different. So it's so cool to hear your story and the way that God has just reached you. We have a little handout that we want you to be able to keep. So this is called the My Story handout. We'll be giving those to you in a folder so that you're able to pass those out to the kids and to the parents as well. But we'll give that out, and that is a tool to be able to help parents and kids be able to go over what that story looks like for their lives. And it's also a keepsake for them to be able to keep even after this class is done. Also, in this moment, there may be times of kids may not have a story just yet. They may say, I like God a lot, or I love God, I know He loves me. And there was no prayer, no decision, no relationship just yet, but they just give facts about what that looks like. You know what? That's completely okay. But be encouraged. Know that you can continue to have that conversation and ask them if they do want to start a relationship with Jesus. The perfect moment's there. Their parents are there. They're there. So if they're ready to make that decision, feel free to be able to talk through that with them and be able to pray with them for them to receive Christ for the very first time. And again, staff will be present there, so we would love to help you out with that moment. But feel free and know that that is a moment that you can help a kid and a family start that relationship off with Jesus for the first time.
Absolutely. And so then after you guys, so throughout this, you guys, like I said, there'll be quite a few small groups in the actual Connect room. And so we will have someone coming around. The MC will come around and just check with you guys to see where you are at as far as questions and talking with your groups look like. And then again, it's going to kick back to the MC where she's going to be talking about, so we just talked about what sin is, now we're going to talk about what is baptism. And so we're going to explain the importance of baptism and how God asked us to do it as a way to show others our belief in Christ and as a symbol to follow Him all the days of our lives. And so our MC is going to talk a little more, they're going to expand on what that is. And then, again, it's going to kick back to the small group leader where you, again will get to talk to the kids and actually do an analogy, and Chris is going to walk through that so that you guys have a very clear picture of what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so the next analogy will be a wedding ring, so much like we're talking through a symbol, and that's a challenging thing for kids to understand. So there's a few different symbols that we have. One of them is a wedding ring. So we're explaining that to a kid to share that this is not salvation. Baptism is a symbol of the decision that we made, that inward decision. We're expressing that outwardly towards the church, our family, and our friends, but it's a symbol. It's not salvation. So this analogy is supposed to help with that. So what we'll do is chat through that. So Adina, have you ever heard of a wedding ring before?
Yes.
Perfect. Do you know what that means or what that does?
My mom says not to touch it.
Not to touch it. That is great advice. So yeah, if your mom says don't touch it, no need to touch it there. But a wedding ring is for those who are married. They make a commitment before God and the church to say that they're going to love their husband or their wife for the rest of the time, and they're making a covenant before God to say, I will be married to you and I'll love you. And that's a very special commitment that they're making inside their hearts. And then they put on a ring just like this onto their finger to say, world, everyone, I'm married, I have a husband or a wife, and I want everyone to know that. So that is a symbol of the marriage. So the decision in their heart is what's important. The ring just shows it. So if I were to take off this wedding ring, I would still be married because I made that covenant before God to say that I'm going to be married to my wife. Mm-hmm. But when I put it on, I'm just showing the whole world that I have a wife at home. So for baptism and salvation, you've already made that decision in your heart to say that Jesus is your Lord and your best friend. And now baptism is almost like putting on a ring of showing everyone in the church that you're a follower of Christ. So it's not salvation. It doesn't make you right with God or make you a follower of God, but it shows that you've already done that you made that decision first, and then you're baptized. Does that make sense, or do you have any questions with what that looks like?
Yeah, so my mommy and daddy, they both have rings, but I have my best friend. He has a mommy, and there's no ring. What is that? I don't get it. So, yeah.
Sure. So that one, it's an analogy of marriage. It's an analogy of, it's a symbol to show something. But there are times where that doesn't make sense, and some moms or dads may not be married. They may not have a husband or a wife, and they won't wear a wedding ring because that's not a commitment that they're in currently. So for baptism and salvation, know that, yep, I'm trying to help explain what that looks like, but we can't fully understand what that looks like because we're trying to use symbols that make sense to us. But God never leaves us. He always loves us. He's always with us. And that decision that you make to make him your Lord and your best friend, he's going to honor that for the rest of time. So another part is like a heart. You know the heart that you have inside of your chest?
Mm-hmm.
It looks a little bit different than the one that you see on pictures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it shows what that looks like. So again, baptism is showing others that you are a follower of Christ, but it's not actually the moment that you gave your life to Christ. So I know that can be a little tough, and the symbols sometimes help out, but know that decision comes first, and then you're baptized.
Okay.
Cool. So in that moment, know that there are some things when you bring up marriage and you bring up wedding rings that kids may talk through divorce, because that's something that does happen. So feel free to care with them through that moment, be able to talk through if they've personally dealt with divorce, just care for them in the moment. But also true, the whole point of the symbol is to know that salvation happens first, and then they're baptized after that. So make sure that that's the point that they understand afterwards. And if they bring up divorce, feel free to talk them through just the feelings that come up with that, and then give them another symbol or another analogy, or just really hammer home salvation, then baptism, not one and the same.
Right. So after this, again, it's going to transition back to the MC, but it's going to be a quick transition for the MC because we're going to go straight into logistics, and Chris here is going to cover that with families and parents. And so I'll read through the list. I'll also, it may not be included in this email, but I will try to send you an email later on again, so you're just aware of what he will be talking about. But we'll be talking about clothing, how to stand in the pool, how to enter and exit the pool, making sure that we encourage them to invite and bring their friends. So this is something that at the end you can make sure and remind them to take invites with them and to do. There's going to be a photographer available, and they'll talk through that, where to sit, where to meet, when. There's all kinds of different things that Chris will go through. The biggest things I can remind you guys is to make sure that you encourage them to invite, because baptism is one of those things that they may have family members that don't come to church, but they will come to church to see them get baptized. And so that's something we can easily encourage them to do. And we have baptism invites, I can't get that out, that you can actually have them write their service times specifically to invite them to that specific service. And then at the end, the MC is going to come back up and just wrap us up and close us out, and just end it with community and relationships again. And I'm just going to end with this. We will have baptism coloring books. So if you do have kids in your small group that you're talking to, and you know that baptism may not be their next step, or their parents concerned about it as well, we have baptism coloring books we can give these families to take home and continue that conversation. We have What's First kits that have Bibles in them as well. All that will be available, and we will talk more about that in the huddle before baptism class starts. But we will make sure that you guys are super prepared. And Chris, do you have anything else?
Yep, so the last part that I have of towards the end, there's going to be a point where parents may know exactly what the next step is of, okay, my kid's ready to be baptized, or nope, I need to wait until next time. But there are some that may be on the fence of, they're looking for wisdom, they're looking for guidance, they're looking for the partnership with the church. So feel free to step into those kind of conversations if you feel comfortable. So for the one that we just kind of talked about, for Adina, she was ready. She was able to understand what sin is. She was able to give us a moment that she declared that Jesus was her Lord, her leader, her best friend through a prayer that she prayed. So in that moment, we can know that would be a great next step. So asking the parent, okay, so what do you feel like in this moment? What would you like to do? What's the best next step for Adina? And if they say baptism, perfect. If they say, I don't know if this is the next step, feel free to love them through that and then give the resources that Cecile provided. But if they say, I don't know what the next best step is, if they were able to understand sin, if they have a moment where they prayed to receive Christ and they have that understanding of a symbol for baptism, encourage the parents to say, I think your kid's ready. That next step seems like a great idea through baptism. And if it's not there, feel free, again, in that moment of maybe next time would be the best. It's always okay to wait because we want to make sure they have a firm understanding. And if you're not comfortable with that, if there's more questions, again, the staff is there to help out with those moments. So feel free, if you are uncomfortable with where they're at and feel like they don't get it just yet, that's completely okay. And we would love to handle those kind of conversations. So feel free to grab one of us or Mandy, and we would love to be able to help have those conversations. But know that this is such an encouraging time that you are being able to be the star of this moment, really to connect with the families. They're going to connect to you. So continue to support them through baptism, through next steps, and even if you can't show up to their baptism because you just spent 45 minutes to an hour connecting with them. It's so special to start that partnership off with the church. So feel free to continue that connection throughout your time and even after the class is over.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for your time. And remember, whoever finds God
finds life.
See you guys.